Joe Calzaghe land, huh?
Hey, what's happening? Yeah, brother.
So this wasn't your gym.
Yeah, so this was the old rugby club. So we had an old blue shed. It was like a gym. It was a really.
But I'm saying, where you train?
Yeah, I trained here from '99. So I'll be
oh,
back
really?
in '97.
So this is where you?
Yeah,
really?
This has been modernized. This is actually.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know this was it.
Yeah,
that's
man.
crazy.
So how you doing, buddy? You good?
That's my son.
Oh, nice to meet you, brother. How you doing? How you doing, buddy?
You
All right, guys. How you doing?
You do camp here?
Yeah, I train here, man. Yeah, yes, I do.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And where I used to see you running in the mountains. Where would you be?
Over on this area, yeah. I live like nearby. You know what I mean? So there's hills and everything around here.
I see
so
you in the
probably
mountains,
like
man. I was
11,
watching.
12.
I was watching.
Yeah, good to see you, champ.
Man, I appreciate you doing this, brother. People want to hear from you, man. We don't see a lot of you, man, around the boxing. You stay away on purpose. Well, we'll talk about it on there.
Yeah, man.
But you stay away on purpose?
Yeah,
or?
I think so. I think, you know what, I boxed like 27 years, man. It's like, when I retired, man, it was being a bit of tough time with dad and my mum, and it's like different things. And I've got another 2-year-old now, so.
Wow.
A little Enzo.
Yeah.
Something still works, bro.
Yeah.
My hands are but that works, boys.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Art of War. Man, today, the show is going international. We're in Newbridge, Wales, and I'm sitting with a multi-divisional world champion. He retired in 2009, undefeated as the longest reigning super middleweight champion. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest super middleweights of all time. He's the pride of Wales. I want to welcome to the show, Joe Calzaghe.
Great to see you.
Man, brother, you know, our names have been linked, man. Ever since you retired and my career took off, our names have been linked, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Man, I appreciate you, brother. I couldn't come out here and I sit down with you, so I appreciate you agreeing to do this.
Thanks for coming down.
The fans, man, they want to hear from you. You know, so when I posted some pictures of Wales the other day, and I started getting people, hey, you there to talk to Joe? You there to talk to Joe? So I'm happy we're doing this, man.
Me too.
Man, take me back to your childhood, early childhood when you first started boxing. You told a story about your father and how you got into it. So tell me how you got into the sport.
Yeah, a long time ago. So basically, my father, Enzo, bless him, he's Sardinian. He's island off Italy, right? And after the war, Second World War, my grandfather, like a lot of Italians, come over to his place, lived in Bedford in England. And he worked there. And my father's brought up like English. From the age like 4 to 11, 12, he's brought up as if he was English, you know? So when he was about 15, he went back to Sardinia. He didn't want to go. He loved it. He loved it in the UK. He got into me. He was a talented footballer, you know, soccer player. I had music in the family, so my father learned to play the bass from my uncle. And that was it. He learned to play the bass. He loved music. He was gigging. You know, that was the '60s, flower power and everything else, man. So he basically he went around Europe, man. Busking, his story's amazing. He went to Europe, Amsterdam, come back to England, come to South Wales, and met my mum. My mum was serving him at the Wimpy. She was like 16, 17. Yeah, she was young, 16, and they met, and that was that, man. So they got together, and I was born in London, Hammersmith, London. You know, that's the first address. Only for a year. The English like say, "You were born in London, Joe," but I'm Welsh, well, Italian Welsh, and sort of moved back to this area, not far. I'll be honest with you. When I was a kid, when I was a young kid, you know, it was tough, man. We grew up in a council estate. You know, it was quite hard. You know, I was born in '72, so it was tough in them days. And I'll be honest with you. My first love was football. So, you know, he bought me a football and he bought me this punch ball. He obviously seen something on this punch ball, right? And he said, you got some talent. So my dad taught me how to box. He never boxed, but he knew how to box because my grandfather taught him. My grandfather used to fight in the Navy. Man. So he took me to a local boxing gym. It was called Newbridge ABC. It's an old shed.
How far is that from here?
It's literally about 3 kilometers. They had to knock it down in '99 because it was derelict. You know, it was made out of wood and tin. There's, I think, there's toilets in the place really that worked. It was these makeshift punch bags, the boxing ring. You know, it just. You had to wipe your feet on the way out of the place, man. It was like people used to come down and think, "How do you train here, man?" I think it shows that, you know, if you got talent and ambition and the faith and the desire, man, you can achieve anything. And we showed that in that boxing gym. But Dad took me to the local boxing gym when I was a 9-year-old, and The old trainer was called Paul Williams. You know, at the time, the boxing trainer was Paul Williams. And I remember the first day going in and throwing the double jab left and being this little fearful 9-year-old skinny little kid, you know, with the sound of the bags and the smell of the gym, you know, and, you know, I just remember it and a bit sort of, wow. And yeah, man, and that was where it started, you know, and I'll be honest with you, it didn't all come natural, man. It wasn't winning titles. Like, my first fight as a 10-year-old, and I still remember, I'll tell you a little story. So my first fight as a 10-year-old was against a boss called Chris Stock. And I actually lost my first ever fight as a 10-year-old.
So did I.
Yeah, you really, man.
At 10, same age, 10 years old, lost my first one.
Well, I'll tell you a story. So I lost my first ever fight. I remember crying my eyes out in the ring and on a split decision, and they took me out, you know, my train gone. And that feeling, so my first ever feeling was a defeat and how bad that made me feel. Can I just add to it that his father was also one of the judges, which wasn't fair.
I know what that's like.
and I beat the guy about 4 or 5 times afterwards.
So you thought you won?
Yeah, well, the split decision. And well, his father's going to vote, but that's not fair, right? So I lost the split, and that was my first thing. And you know, I had about 15, 20 fights, learning as you do when you're a 10-year-old. And yeah, the first success in boxing was winning my first British national title at the age of 13, 36 kilograms, man.
It's
Junior.
a big deal.
36, and I remember winning in the first round against the English champion. And something in me, you know, winning your first title, man, as you probably know yourself, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? This
powerful feeling.
Powerful, man. It's like, you know, because to me, like, that was it for me, you know, to become a fighter, a world champion one day, because that was my dream, you know, and my dream in my head could become a reality because, you know, being national champion at that age and, you know, having a father, my dad Enzo, my best friend, man, always made me believe, even when people say you're never going to do anything, you know, you're not going to become a champion, to, you know, always believe, you know what I mean?
He always had faith, man. I could always tell that when you guys got to the highest level, like, he never seemed to have doubt. I don't care who you guys got in the ring with, Jeff Lacy's, the Roys, the Bernards, like, he had no doubt.
He didn't have any doubt, you know, and like I said, I got injured, suffered a lot of injuries from like 14, 15. I had 12 months out of the ring when I was, I think, 17. I had a really bad wrist injury. I remember going to the hospital, and they said, you're probably not going to box again. It's a weakness I still have today. It's like I can't push my wrist back. It's always when I fought it, always strapped up really tight. And I just didn't believe it, you know. I had so much faith and belief, and like I said, my father was like, Joe, don't worry about it, you know. You can be cool, you can be all right.
I know your father had he was a musician, and I think he had a studio in the gym before?
Studio, yeah, just next door, yeah.
But he wasn't like a boxing guy, was he?
No, that's the thing. So people say, my dad was a musician, right? And but he taught me how to box. Now people say, you know, what he does. I used to spar with him when I was a kid. You know what I mean? He could box. He would have been a good boxer. Now,
oh, really?
He would have been a good boxer. That's the thing. And people don't understand that. People think he just watched music and decided to take me to a boxing gym. He taught me how to box before he took me to the boxing gym as a 9-year-old. Paul Williams was shocked. He said, "Where's your son been boxing before?" And my dad said, "This is his first day in the gym." When he's open class, he went, "Who taught him?" He said, "I taught him." But like I said, my grandfather boxed when he was young, and sort of taught him the basics out of the box. Although my father never had boxing fights, you know what I mean? He had a good knowledge of boxing and could box. It's not like he just didn't turn up and just. And he learned as he went along, you know, on everything. And I trained Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays as a kid in Newbridge Boxing Gym. But my father would kick my basically and train me every day. I mean, like,
at home,
he was hard on me, man. You know what I mean? It's like I thank him now, but at the time, you know, I'd rebel, man. It's like any teenager. I want to go with my friends. I want to drink. I want to see girls. But he's like, no, you're training. Rain, sleet, or snow. I mean, 3-mile runs, 4-mile runs, like run up these mountains as a kid, and I thank him because I think that's why I had such a great engine, because from such a young age, man, I was pushed like a professional, even when I was a young kid.
Man, I've talked about that before, how I had to give up a childhood to be a champion. I don't know if it's another way. Like, I don't know if you can do both and still be great. No. But how was that? Like, tell me a little bit more about giving up that childhood and realizing, man, I'm different than my friends.
Yeah, it was tough. You know, I'll be honest with you. If I look back, like, I went to this school And it was outside sort of the area. You know, my mum thought this school would be a better school, and I struggled, man. You know, I was getting bullied. You know what I mean? I was getting like name calling, bullied. I was different, and it's crazy. Like boxing was for me my escapism. I felt self-worth when I was in the boxing ring. I felt like otherwise. You know what I mean? It's like I was winning. I was beating people in the ring. I winning fights and going to school and sort of like avoiding this class because you know you're a kid, man. I was sensitive, man. Yeah. I'm a sensitive person. You know what I mean? So that sort of helped me later on in life with dealing with bullies, you know what I mean, in boxing. It toughens you up. And yeah, but there was times like where me and Dad would sit down and we speak for ages. I mean, I'd say, I'm not going to box, I've had enough, you know, I want to do other things. And it was tough. And like you said, you basically give up your childhood. You know, my childhood was training, my childhood was, you know, fighting for titles and when you're going to box next. And
that's our whole life, when you're fighting again,
Yeah. And I was so driven. I remember, like, I didn't turn up for half my exams because I was in the national championships. And so I didn't turn up for half of them because my mind was like, I'm going to be a world champion, I'm going to be a champion one day, so I don't need to do exams, right? So I always remember sitting down with a careers teacher like yourself. So they, you know, at the end of when you're 15, like, you sit down and go, so what are you going to do when you leave school? And I'm like, I'm going to be a world champion. And she actually laughed at me, man. She went, no, seriously, Joe, what job are you going to do? He's going, I'm going to be a world champion. But in myself, I was so focused and frankly, my dad made me believe. He never once said, you're not going to do this. Always made me believe that was the end goal. So, yeah, you know, it was tough times, but yeah, I would turn anything back.
So you're progressing as an amateur. Were you on the national team?
Well, that's it. The thing is, when it comes to Wales, that was probably a handicap to me. I was a national champion. I won like 3 consecutive ABAs. I had a year out the ring. Then I was in the nationals, the seniors. I won the welterweights and the welterweight division. And then I was in the light middleweights, and I was supposed to be selected for the Olympics in Barcelona '92. And I was the only Welsh fighter that was a national champion. And I still remember this, you know, they done the selection for the qualifying tournament. So you have Wales, England, Scotland champions qualify for GB to fight Olympics. I was going to the squads training for the Olympic squad training, and we were from this little gym, and in Cardiff, which is the capital city, were selecting. They selected a fighter that I would just play with my hands were in my bag. You know, there's nothing against the guy, but I think it's Matthew Turner's name was, but they selected him instead. And I remember...
It's crazy you still don't know the name. Them scars, you don't forget that stuff, man. Yeah, you still don't know, you still know the name.
So Robert Reed was going to fight for England, exactly. So, but this is the only time I saw my dad remember my father crying when it came to boxing. Listen, we emotional people, man. I tell you, we shed tears, man, you know, but when it's come to boxing, he had to sit me down and say, you're not selected. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm a British champion.
I'm better than him, yeah.
I'm the national champion. I can select this guy. He's a different level. They're not selecting you because we were from a little gym in Newbridge, you know, and this guy was from Cardiff. Obviously, they were from Cardiff, and they selected him to the qualifying tournament. So then he goes on and gets a bronze medal in the Olympics, and I have to sit at home thinking I should be there. Maybe, you know, maybe I would win a gold or definitely a medal. Because
you believe that? You feel like your style was fit for Olympic boxing at that time?
I was winning all the national titles, you know. I was winning all the national titles. So, you know, I was sparring with Robin Reed, and he got a bronze. And I was handling him in sparring, no problem, in Olympic squad training. So I think, well, if you got a bronze, who knows? But I think I'll have the chance, you know. And just the experience of going to the Olympics, you know, you should know about it.
Give me the shot, give me the opportunity, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you know. But I always look at it and think, you know, do I turn professional? And my dad said, he looked at the history books, he went, nobody's won 3 consecutive national titles at 3 different weights. So welterweight, light middleweight, which I stopped everybody. You know, I beat, bless him, he's passed away now, Dean Francis, who was European champion. Glenn Catley became WBC champion, I stopped him, I stopped everybody inside the distance. And I went to middleweight and I stopped everybody inside the distance. I went the distance once against a fighter called Darren Dorrington, but I gave him like 3 or 4 standing counts before I turned pro. And then I decided then, in '93, you know, let's turn professional.
Well, you did turn professional, and just after 4 years, you find yourself in your first world title fight against Chris Eubank. Walk me through that fight.
Yeah, so if I just take you back a little bit, so the WBO champion at the time was a fight called Steve Collins.
I know. Yeah, I
So
know.
Steve Collins was the champion, and we had the same promoter, Frank Warren. So
Scottish?
Irish, yeah.
He's Irish.
Steve Collins, Irish fighter, good fighter, you know. And I was prepared for Steve Collins. You know, I figured, you know, his style was made for me because he was very come forward. I like the southpaw, I like the counter punch, like throw that feint on counter punch. So then he decided to pull out the fight with like 10 days to go with a few different reasons, but he didn't want to fight, you know. Chris Eubank was making his comeback after being out the ring, and he was coming on the card. So if I'm honest with you, I was quite nervous in that fight because, you know, I was watching Eubank, and you seen with Michael Watson, man. He's unpredictable, dangerous fighter.
Strong,
unpredictable. Hard. You know that. He doesn't come forward. I don't like fighters. You know, I like fighters to come to me. I get a bit impatient, especially them days. But I think I was 21-0. I knocked 20 out. This is before my hands really packed in, and I was inexperienced. You know, inexperienced, man, and I thought I could knock everybody out. I remember the press conference in London, and you know, I was just cocky and brash, man. He said, "So how are you gonna do? I'm gonna knock him out. I'm gonna knock him out." And then,
what did he say? Because he didn't mince words either.
He looked at me. I'm gonna take you to a place, man. I'm gonna take you to the trenches. And then, come the fight night, you know, first round, first left hook I threw, and he lands on his back, and I'm thinking, you know, it's trenches. What trenches? He gets up and go, man. He gives me the by far the toughest fight I ever had. You know, because I was exhausted after 6-7 rounds because I didn't know how to pace myself. So I'm fighting against a fighter that's had 21 world title fights. I've knocked everybody out, nearly everybody out in the first maybe, you know, 2 or 3 rounds, you know. So I didn't know, I had to learn on the job, you know. So I had to dig deep, and, you know, like I said, it was amazing, you know, to win the world title with my father Enzo in my corner, bless him, man. So, and I knew, and it was a
powerful feeling, man. You get that monkey off your back when you get that first title.
Yeah,
like, it's like I felt I could do it, but I just proved that I can do it to the world.
Yeah, exactly.
And take you to another level. That belt that you won, you held that belt hostage, man. You held it hostage for 10 years, 21 title defenses, and you're getting all these defenses, you're building a name locally, and people are knowing who you are in the United States, but it's hard for you to secure that matchup. Was it just guys didn't want to fight, or just wasn't a lot of guys? And I'm saying before Lacy.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, it was frustrating for me because I think I beat 6 former world champions when they just lost. Everything to lose, nothing to gain. And, you know, that you blame, you know, the promoter. My promoter was basically my manager.
Who promoted you?
Frank Warren.
Okay, Frank Warren, yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's difficult. I'm asking for a unification fight straight from winning the title. I beat Robin Reed, Richie Woodall, Charles Hatcher-Brewer, Byron Mitchell. They just lost on dubious decisions to Sven Ocker, who was the IBF champion. You couldn't beat the guy. You have to knock him out 5 times, he's still going to win. And then a few months later, I'm fighting the guy. So I'm frustrated. I'll be honest with you, I was really frustrated. I felt I wasn't getting the recognition. I felt like, you know, I wanted a unification fight, man. You know what I mean? And
like you were hungry for it. It wasn't
no, exactly, bro. I was hungry for him. I wanted the unification fight, and it wasn't until I hurt my hand. I think I broke my hand in the 4th round against a fight called Evan Shear, which I fractured my. See it there, man. I fractured
you still see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I fractured that, worst injury in the ring, and I had to fight with one hand for 8 rounds, and the fight was made with Jeff Lacy, but luckily for me, how God works, man, how basically I had to fight really bad, and he was the best, apparently the biggest thing coming through.
A lot of height,
with the
power.
Showtime, he was bashing, you know, with Showtime, and I was the opponent for them, but I had other plans, and my father had other plans. So that was what I needed, is finally, after 9 years, 33 years of age, 9 years of world champ, finally getting a big fight against, you know, American world champion, you know, from the US. And
what did you think about him when you really sat down and watched Jeff Lacy before you fought him?
Yeah, well, I watched him beat Robin Reed, and I thought myself, I struggled with Robin Reed. I wasn't 100%, but I thought, you know, he's bashing him up and dropping him. But I'll be honest with you, I'll take you to the story. So 90% of all the press in America and UK said I was going to lose that fight. 90%.
I remember that.
90%, yeah, 90%. And I'm thinking, but my dad's great expert on fight. He knew my style. My father knew my style. And he knew fighters that wouldn't look great against. But he knew fighters that were made for me. And I remember I injured my hand like 10 days before the fight.
Oh man, come on.
I went to London. I went to Harley Street in London. They gave me a cortisone and said, Joe, you have to rest. You can't fight this fight. I remember coming home on the train and telling my dad, and he don't cut no corners, man. He says it is, and he was, you know, I'm going to say all the swear words, but think of Joe Pesci, Goodfellas. Listen, man.
He was for you fighting or not? He wanted you to or did not? He said, we got to do it.
You're gonna pull out, man. He said, they're gonna call you the biggest chicken. You need to fight this fight. I'm like, that. I'm injured. It's what the doctors say. So anyway, I remember coming in this very ring, and my bless my dad. He was in that ring right there, man. And I remember coming in. He was on his own, and we had a really heart-to-heart chat. I said, Dad. He said, listen, forget this. Forget what all these experts think, so-called experts say. I'm telling you, no, son. And he basically said exactly how the fight was going to play out. So the guy never boxed. All these experts, forget all these experts. I'm telling you, no, son. He said, from the first bell to the last bell, you're going to dominate this guy. And he said something really simple. He said, listen, man, forget what he's saying. This guy, he moves about 5 times and throws 1 punch. He said, you throw 5 punches and move once. He said, do the maths. But he said, you know, at the end of the day, he said, listen, son, no matter what, I'm proud of you, but you have to fight this fight. And something clicked in my head when he said that, you know. I want to just be there for my dad, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm proud of you no matter what, but you have to fight this fight. And then we just went ahead, and then the rest is history. Man, I went out and did what you said.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Man, you ruined Jeff Lacy. You know, and that's no disrespect to him, but that's how dangerous the sport is. Like, you could one night, and you can never be the same. Yeah. And the aura that he had, the fear factor, that stuff was crushed that night. The Manchester Arena, 12,000 plus fans, and it's in the wee hours of the morning, right? Or at least it was in the States. No, it's 3 a.m. for you guys.
Yeah, for us.
So I remember watching that fight, and man, you just took it to another gear. Yeah. So even though you hadn't had that marquee fight yet, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, he's got the gears. Yeah. Did you feel like you were clicking from the very beginning?
I just felt, man, yeah, 100%. I mean, the training camp, even though I injured my hand, I mean, you see the hills and the mountains around here, the hills, I've done the same since I was a kid, and I timed myself, certain 5K, 6Ks, and I was running at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'd have my Enzo, my dad would be behind me in the car, and I'd be pounding in the freezing cold, and I was taking minutes off my time, and in the gym, I felt great. So to me, it's like, there was an option losing. I know they've heard this before, it was like willing to die in the ring. I mean, they'd have to carry me out the ring. It meant so much because...
You really felt that?
Oh, more than ever. I was so tuned into that fight that they'd have to carry me out the ring, because my whole career, to me, was defined on that night. Because all the doubts that I told you he wasn't that good. To me, that was to show the world, not just on UK, but the States, which I felt was a massive deal for me to show worldwide what I could do. And I was just willing for everything. I had so much, you know, it's hard to explain. A surreal moment where I went in that ring, and from the first second to the last bell, even though I threw so many punches, like I'd done 15, 16 rounds, I would just, I'd probably say that was the peak of, you know, how my skills that night, and my fitness, and just the focus as well.
Man, those kind of nights, when you think back about the sport, those are the nights that you miss. Like, man, if I could just feel that one more time. Yeah. If I could just have a moment where the danger is just right, the moment is just right, and I have to rise, and I rise like that. Can I just get that one more time? That's the things you think about. What was surprising to me in that fight, though, was like, you didn't run. Whose strategy was that for you to kind of press him and hold your ground?
Well, that's the thing. Do you know what? It's the thing is, with my style, I can adapt in the fight, you know, and I just go with the flow. I don't make a plan before I go in the fight.
You don't have a game plan?
I don't really. I go in because I can go forward, I can go back, I can box, I can fight. But obviously, to me, it was obviously stay on the outside, you know, and if he loads up, just throw my fast combinations and move. And as the fight happened, and I see him coming forward to load up, it was easy for me to spin off him. And I watched him like a matador and a bull. You know, I was like, whoa, come out there, and you throw the combos. And then I was having fun. I was enjoying myself. You know, and...
when did you know that you had him? Like, oh, he can't deal with me.
I'm from the first round, man. Yeah, even before I got in the ring, you know what? It's like, is you know yourself, you know what I mean? They say, obviously, mind games and all that. I'm not mind games, but eyes never lie, man. They say the eyes never lie, you know? I remember going up 3 or 4 days before the fight, and it was snowing. I loved the snow, man. I thought, this is it, man. And something, the pressure was off me. I don't know what it was, you know? It was something amazing I can't explain, right? It's beautiful. And then I went up to Manchester, and then you do the press sessions and the biggest fight, and I'm relaxed, I'm talking, I'm having fun.
I remember that.
They were saying, like, is Joe okay? To my dad, he's great, man. He's his biggest fight of his life, and he seems relaxed. And you got Lacy in there, really tense, didn't want to speak. Do you know what I mean? So he was, all of a sudden, is the mindset come into a fight where you think you're gonna have it easy, all of a sudden you realize, listen, man, you've come in the wrong place here, bro. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I'm seriously I want to win this fight, you know? So, yeah, and sort of, yeah, it was like, what can I say? It's, I just felt really confident. I think the press conference, his body language, you know what I mean?
He seemed almost like sleepy. Like that's weird. Like when you get hit with big pressure, and you know this, if you don't respond well and like rise above the pressure, it's almost like it just takes your energy. You'll just look like, man, you'll be a spectator to your own event. You won't rise, and that's how he looked at it. I remember seeing it. Like it was almost like he's there, but he wasn't there. You know, and then you know, that crowd will zap you too. You know, these crowds over here, they're different, man. They're different. The pressure of that, you know, 2, 3 in the morning, he had to deal with that. And then he's seeing your energy like he's not afraid.
No, exactly. And that's the thing, you're not afraid. I mean, like you said, when you look in the eyes, you can see the confidence, you know what I mean? And now you feel like you're there to win. And that was it, you know, and I think from the first round, I remember saying, I think it was 2 or 3 rounds. He caught me with a good shot in the first round. I was getting a bit excited, and he caught me, and it didn't hit me, but his biggest punch, boom. And my dad said, like, hey, he's talking to me. I said, you know, you can't hit for or something. I don't know what he said, something like, you can't hit for shit. And then everything he sort of hit me is like a shield on, like, just come off me, and even he did catch me. But like I said, man, it was just, I was enjoying it.
You feel any of his power that night?
I was like, bullet that night, man. It was like, nah, man, this is... It's hard to explain.
What up, fight fans? It's Akim Barak, and we got great matchups coming your way. We teamed up with DraftKings for this one. So make sure you download the app and use our promo code ATSFights. People were wondering, what is Teofimo Lopez gonna do next? He's fighting in the middle of Times Square against Barbosa, a rival, right?
I'm happy about this fight. 2 head-on guys that don't like each other, animosity. It's gonna be crazy.
I mean, I like Barbosa, but let's be honest, like, Teo did earn what he got. Absolutely. He beat Loma when nobody was fighting him. Right. Devin Haney is back after all the controversy against Ryan Garcia, the PEDs. This fight is at 147, but it's against a guy that's coming to win.
We're gonna see a new Jose Ramirez at 147 that didn't have to drain himself and is gonna come 100%.
We might see a stronger Devin Haney. Look, I know we're coming off a massive card back on February 22nd, but this card right here, it's competing with any card out there. Boxing is on fire right now.
With so many different ways to play, DraftKings has something for every sports fan.
Check out all that DraftKings has to offer on the app or on the website.
All you new customers, use my promo code ATSFights.
What are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings app right now.
Level up your fight experience.
After that fight, did you and Pops feel like you were getting the respect that you deserved after dismantling a guy that everybody was high on?
Yeah, I think so. I think to perform at your best, as you know yourself, man, you always want a perfectionist. Sometimes styles and getting injured in fights, you can't perform at the best you want to perform. A win is essential. But then I used to be my worst critic. I'd look at the fight, I didn't fight very good. You want to win, but then you want to fight well. You want to look good. So to me, I was like, finally, I've done a performance, on the biggest stage that I've done so far, and I felt like finally was getting the recognition. So then I'm looking at the other champions. I'm looking at the unification fights. As you know, with boxing, it's not that easy. It's all about, you got to fight this guy. And I fought a fight that you fought, Sakio Bika. It was a tough guy, ungamey guy, horrible fight. You're going to get an opponent that look good against. He's not going to look good against
Nobody wants to fight Bika.
Yeah, he'd come in. I never saw the guy box. I'll go ahead.
Oh, really? You never seen him?
I didn't see the guy.
Man.
He come in late. And this guy, I'm looking at this guy thinking, HB. And I remember sitting with I think Jim Lanley said, Joe, can I ask you a question? Why are you fighting Sakio Bika? I said, I don't know. Ask my promoter why I'm fighting him. I said, and they go in, have you seen this guy fight? I said, not really. I've seen like 2 rounds.
No
So I
good.
never used to watch. And then the only time I've ever been cut in my life, I had a head cut across the head clash, and it was horrible fight, you know.
And he's physically strong, so all the rough stuff is even harder to deal with.
Yes.
And if he catches you with a big shot, he might hurt you.
Yes.
And then if you beat him, it's like, oh, you just beat Bika.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but he's he went on to win the world title years later. But
Solid.
He's not a good.
Just not a good.
You know, he's a tough guy. And
When I saw I was fighting, I was like, ah, man. You just know what type of night it's gonna be, man. You just know what type of night it's gonna be. If I'm not mistaken, you stayed home. You stayed in this gym for every training camp.
Yeah.
Like you stayed around your kids. Even how'd you do that?
That's why it was comfortable. I preferred it. You know, I just like being at home. There's only one time I've ever been to training camp, and that was when I was suffering injuries in 98, 99. I had a really bad elbow injury. I couldn't spar for 2 years, and I had about 3 defenses with no sparring.
What?
Yeah, exactly, bro. Robin Reed, I think a fighter called Rick Thornberry, and I think I had 10 minutes out of the ring one time. I remember sitting with Frank Warren, my promoter, and he said, Joe, you have to retire, you're going to fight? And I said, well, yeah, you know, but I'm injured all the time. So I could hit the bag, but I couldn't hyperextend. So as soon as I snapped that out, I was in pain. I was in cortisones, had this elbow injury. And I went to a training camp in London for 6 days, which is the first time I sparred. And at first, man, my timing was out, but then everything started to come together. You know, it took a few days being rusty of having a moving target. And I was fighting a fighter called Omar Shika. Omar Shika. Yeah. And Omar Shika just came off a win against Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson was a good fighter, as you know. And so I thought he was a live fighter, you know. This guy, he's come to win, you know. So I went to training camp there, and then could spar again. Finally, after a couple of years of not being at my best, I put on a good performance. I stopped him in 5 rounds, and it was like, yes, man, I'm back. You know what I mean? It's great, man. And that was good fun. But no, that's it. I trained at home. As you see these hills, like, I was very lucky because we had 3 world champions in this gym at one time. Myself, Enzo Macronelli, cruiserweight. We had Nathan Cleverly.
They train here.
They train here. My father trained. You know, Gavin Reese,
wow,
who won the world title. Yeah, man. They all trained in this one gym here, man. Wow. It was a beautiful time. So my dad training us. I spar with Enzo. I spar with Nathan.
Really?
And we'd all spar together. But I never had heavy sparring in the last 5 years, 6 years because of my hands. So I had that big, like 22-ounce pillow gloves.
You guys
on,
to hit the mitts with the big ones too.
Yeah, because of my hands, you know. So it'd all be like big, decent sparring, but no, you know, just maybe speed. You know, I spar with littler guys for my reflexes, so, you know, I'm nice and fast. And I sort of adapted my style over the years because of my hand trouble, you know?
So you definitely feel like you would have had more knockouts if you had no hand injuries, no elbow injuries?
Yeah, 100%.
No doubt about it. So it wasn't that you couldn't punch, it's just that I can't punch with my hands.
Yeah, listen, early on, man, I remember being in the amateurs knocking light heavyweights when I was weighing about 10 stone, 12 stone, man. Like, and then I used to load up the left hand, and then nobody knocks Eubank down if you can't punch. Like, Eubank was known for a concrete chin, man. He fought the biggest punches, man. Like, Nigel Benn couldn't hit him down in 2 fights. Nigel Benn could punch. I couldn't load up anymore. I had to adapt my style. So in the gym, I just use speed. So I use combination punches rather than loading up. So I could never do what I used to do and look for that left hand over the top because my hand would go. And that's done, you know? So it'd always be more straight lines and more speed. I couldn't come over the top of the left hand anymore. So yeah, so that's why I sort of adapted my style to more speed, and I had the fitness.
Made the adjustment.
And the fitness was there because I had a great engine, so I could keep that speed going for 12 rounds.
That engine is key, man. People don't realize that. Like, that's a major weapon in a sport when you can, you know, wear a guy down and he's getting tired and you're like, brother, I'm good. Middle rounds, I'm good. Or I know I'm gonna catch my second win.
Yeah, exactly.
So just under 2 years after you beat Jeff Lacy, you get the Mikkel Kessler fight. That was a fun fight for me to watch, man. It was high level. It was a lot of punches, a lot of action. Walk me through that fight with Mikkel Kessler.
Yeah, so after the Lacy fight, I'll be honest with you, I was coming to 33, I had a couple of defenses, and I wanted to unify the titles, At the time, I was undefeated in like 44 fights or 43 fights. And I was thinking to myself, man, when am I going to retire? Like, start to cut corners. I was enjoying life, And then it comes, probably like yourself, it comes to a time you think, do you know what? I could retire undefeated, man. 10 years of world champion. But I wanted to fight the best at the time. And at the time, I think it was WBC and WBA champion was Mikkel. Myself, I was the IBF and WBO Ring Magazine champion. So it was a fight to put together. I had to really push for that fight.
Yeah, tell me about that, because I was going to ask you about that. How hard was it to make that fight?
It was hard to make. I remember speaking with my pro fighter. I said, I don't want to know any of the fighter. I want to fight Kessler. I think that is it. I want to fight Kessler. Oh, you might have to go to Denmark. I said, I'll go to Denmark. But he, luckily for me, made the fight in Cardiff. And I remember, I knew it was going to be a tough fight. He was undefeated at the time, and I think he was like 41-0. What I remember is, you know, fighting in front of 50,000 young fans, you know, against the fight, and thinking, and I knew at that fight that would be my last fight at super middleweight. I mean, I really struggled to make the weight. I mean, I lost 36 pounds for that fight. You know, I was
In camp?
36 pounds, yeah, about 15 weeks before the fight. Yeah, that's my weight. I was
So
like,
normally you would lose about 15 pounds the week of, 10 days out?
yeah, no, I'd lose 10 pounds the day before. I would be,
Come on, bro.
Yeah. So the
10
check
pounds the
weight-
day before?
Yeah, so
How?
I mean, man, just no eating, dehydration, training with sweatsuits.
Joe, come on, man.
Yeah, I did.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's
know.
crazy.
Back in them
Sauna
days-
too? The week of?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I'd get in the sauna only the last pound. If I couldn't lose it, I mean, I'm macy, I'm dehydrated. There's no, I can't speak. And then I'd only make the weight just as I come off this out of there. So it's jump on the scales. Damn, he made the weight. But what I was shocked with when I fought Kessler, I think I'm a big super middleweight. I remember waiting there, looking at this guy, thinking, damn, he fucking.
Yeah.
I remember the gym mates were looking at the size of Kessler. He's a big guy, but you know what I used to do? I looked at his legs. Well, my legs are bigger than his legs, man.
Yeah, you did have big legs. You had big legs.
stronger legs,
And
but-
calves too.
Yeah.
You had a good
Yeah,
legs.
thanks, man. But looking at the fight night, I remember that was a tough fight because, you know, there was a few little injuries going into the fight. But there's a lot of... Kessler was different to Lacy. Like, you know, with Mikkel, I made the mistake of getting too excited. You know, I was rushing him, and he was a good counter puncher, man. He caught me, and I ain't gonna lie, man. In the fourth round, he hit me with 2 uppercuts. I had a good chin, man. He buzzed me. I'm like, whoa, he hit me too hard. First 4 rounds, man. But this is where adapting comes in, as you know, man. I had to adapt, and then, you know, I knew I had to sort of just bide my time, use feints, use my boxing, and then I started using my jab. I started moving away, and not
And he doesn't
pulling.
adapt well. He's kind of got one speed, in and out, in and out. He can get his combinations off if you're there.
Yeah.
He's not stepping around.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a plan B.
Yeah, and that's what you have to have, as you know. That's right.
You got to have as many
That's
as you
right,
need to
champ.
have.
Exactly. You need the plan B and the plan C. So plan A wasn't working, and so I had a plan B, and I was using my boxing skills, moving to my right and counting him over the top, and I could feel myself winning. He was getting frustrated. I hit him with a good body shot, and I think the 7th really held on. The feeling is a bit frustrating, and then
He don't like it to the body.
yeah,
He don't like it to the body.
Okay, like, ooh, and he grabbed on, and I was like trying to pull him off, but you know what? He like a tough fight, you know. Like I said, I felt like after 8 rounds, you keep, you know, use my boxing, and it was great, you know. I know, to me, it's like undisputed title. I know, okay, I was IBF champion.
You missed one belt.
I was IBF champion, but they had the belt back because of politics. It was a #1 contender. So I was IBF champion, so I had all them belts. So to me, wherever it was at that time. So I made that decision after that fight that I'm never going to fight in super middleweight. I've been 10 years of world champion, I've got all the belts. There's 2 things missing for me before I wanted to retire. I knew this was the end for me. And like the injuries, my kids, you know what I mean? And like, legacy was everything to me, you know, and I always pray to God, you know, like, thank God for everything I've done, you know. I wouldn't believe that, if I could do this, you know what I mean, be a champion, so, and possibly retire undefeated. So it was a natural thing for me to go to the States and fight. And
Had you ever been over there? You never fought over there?
I never fought there, no. I boxed in Denmark, I boxed in Germany, where I had to fight a mandatory once. And I always wanted to come to America. And the thing is like, as you know, it's not just yourself. You know, when you're coming through, your promoter dictates. And the fighters that were champions don't want to fight, and it's just a frustration. But I was in a position now where I wanted to fight against Hopkins. Hopkins was making the big shout now. He was like, come up some great wins. He was a Ring Magazine champion. So that was a natural fight, but it was...
How hard was it to make that fight?
Well, that's the thing. How hard was it to make that fight? I remember speaking to my promoter. He mentioned the fight called Clinton Woods. You know, no disrespect. I love Clinton Woods, but I'm like, I want to fight Hopkins. He said to me, Hopkins is not going to come to the UK. I said, it doesn't matter. I'll go to America. So what I did, I bought my own ticket. This was a week after the Kessler fight. Ricky Hatton was boxing against Mayweather. So basically what I did, I paid my own flight. We had cheap seats at the back. And I remember the main reason was to go over and for me personally, bumping out to Hopkins, you know? So that's what happened. I remember speaking with HBO, I think it was Coco, and she said, he said, Coco, she's lovely, right? She said, Hopkins in the press room. And I was like, yeah, let's go. So I said, Enzo Machinelli was with me. And then that's it, man. We went to the press room and the fight was made there. If I didn't go to the States, that fight not be made. Because I skipped everything else, the bullshit with the promotion. I went man to man.
You made that happen.
He come over, I went over, he made the comment, never gonna let
So
white boy beat me.
let's get into that. So he made the infamous comment, I'll never let a white boy beat me. When he said that, what are you thinking?
Well, what can I say back? What can I say back, bro?
How did you feel, though?
I was a bit sort of taken aback, shocked, but also I went into like Ivan Drago. If you fight me, you will lose. If you fight me, I don't know what was it, but if you fight me, like I said, and it was just I was pretty excited because I felt with that comment, and I saw at the time I remember ringing Frank Warren and said that these men's comment.
You thinking business?
I thought the fight's made.
You're not taking it personal. You're thinking business.
I don't take it personal.
I got Hopkins' attention now.
Yeah.
Now I got the American press's attention.
Yes, and I think everybody's attention after that comment. So I'm sort of glad he made that comment because that caused a lot of, what he said, and that made the fight was made. So I didn't.
B was a strategist too. He said that on purpose.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He's like, y'all watching? All right, listen to this.
Yeah, I felt that. Yeah, I'd be careful with my words, but like I said, the fight was made, and what can I say? It was a dream for me to go and fight in Vegas. I've always, as a young kid, man, and when I was a young kid watching when I was a little 10-year-old, 11-year-old watching like my favorite fighters were Leonard, Hagler, Tommy Earns, Duran.
And your fans came over.
They're amazing. Like no fans like the British fans, so you probably agree, man. Ricky Hatton started the ball rolling, and then for me, that struggled early doors to sell seats. Boxing's hard from Wales, right? They're all rugby fans, and win, lose or draw, they always watched rugby, so it was tough. So when I beat Eubank, many years was tough to sell, to get a big fight. So finally, man, like, wow, right at the end, I'm getting the big ones. I got thousands of Brits, not just Welsh, English, Scottish, Irish, coming to watch me fight, to feel like I'm the home fighter. So it was amazing. I remember the weigh-in, there was only a couple of thousand people at the weigh-in, man. I mean, like 5 years before, I would not fight this many people at my fights. Man. So it was great. It was great there. The names, it was an incredible experience.
I don't need the number, but were you happy with the money? You felt like you got a fair deal? Or you felt, because Hopkins is very, very shrewd in business. You feel like you got a fair deal?
Yeah, I was happy with the money. To me, I was happy to fight in America. I could have tried to stay at home and fight in Wales. I think that squashed everybody's opinion of me that say he never wanted to leave UK. No, it just couldn't. The opportunity, So to me, I wanted the experience of fighting in Vegas. I wanted to do that. I wanted to beat the best fighter that was there. And Bernard Hopkins was the Ring magazine, one of the best pound for pound at that time in the world. And I was willing to take that opportunity. And I had 2 injuries going into that fight.
Man.
Again.
Hands?
I had a rib injury that Kessler hit me right in the sternum, and I really struggled with that through training camp. Also the hand as well. So I had an injection there, and I had an injection there before I got in the ring. And the fight was a messy fight. As you know, I got caught square in the first round. Flash knockdown, wasn't hurt.
What were you thinking when you went down in the first round?
I was like, oh. What the hell, man? I just rushed him. I rushed him, but Hopkins fought the right fight. He's so clever. It's hard to fight a guy that doesn't want to fight. He was so clever. When you fight in Germany, he's not a journeyman. This guy done his homework, not to come forward. He tried to nullify my work rate. And then when I was inside, I couldn't really work. And I was too excited, I was.
Is he physically strong?
He's quite strong. I wouldn't say, you know.
Crafty, though.
He's just crafty. You know, he was crafty. But after 6 or 7, 8 rounds, my work rate, even though it was messy, I was the one that was trying to work. And he started to feign low blows. And to me, I've got him, man. He doesn't want to, you know. So, yeah, and it's a messy fight. Sometimes you go win ugly, you know. It's not one of their fights like a Lacy where, yeah, everything goes well. But that's what champions do. You got to find a way out to win. And
Did B-Hop give you your respect after the fight?
do you know what? Directly after, no.
Oh, yeah, I remember he was saying he felt he won, right?
Yeah, he said he felt he won, and he wasn't at the press conference after the fight. But I've had the opportunity. I met him. We sat ringside together a few years after the fight in Vegas. I think it was Judah against. I'm not sure, but it was a fight. And yeah, to be honest, it was great, man. We had a good chat. He showed full respect. We had a good, conversation between us. And he's like, "Come on, Joe, you're looking good. Let's have another fight." And then he goes, and I sort of shut him up. I went 60-40 me, and he goes, "Are we gonna negotiate?"
Yeah, he's never gonna go for that.
Yeah, and then that was the end. But yeah, we had nice words, and it was respect both ways. And now in hindsight, he won the world title like 5 years after I beat him, or 4 or 5 years after I beat him, and he had some good wins like against Antonio Tarver and what he did to Kelly Pavlik, So it was a great fight.
It's a good win. It's the second to the last fight before you retire. But after that fight, are you and Dad saying, that may be it? Or do you know you got one more left in you?
I'll be honest with you, after winning against Hopkins, at the time, once light heavyweight, I was starting to cut corners. I think, I was...
What do you mean when you say cut corners? What were you
cutting
doing?
corners, man. I mean, like, I was maybe drinking a little bit too much.
Even during camp?
No, not during camp.
But just outside?
Well, not at my time, because I was getting paid more money, I was having, like, bigger gaps in between fights. So I was, like, trying to enjoy life. What I thought at the time was enjoying life, And, maybe, going on nice holidays, eating... going up in weight, but it wasn't just that. To me, it was my injuries, and I'll be honest with you, my sons were getting older, and I never really was one for letting my kids, when they were really young, watch me box, because something could happen in the ring, and I didn't feel that's just my personal opinion. I was right. So when I fought against Hopkins and I went down flash knockdown, I've been down in 27 years of my life. I never got dropped in sparring. I never got dropped as an amateur in 120 fights. I mean, Byron Mitchell was the first fighter to drop me. I stopped him in the same round. I was going through a tough time in 2004, and I think it's Kabari Slim. I went down. So against Hopkins, I thought to myself, this is it for me. I thought.
You thought that was it?
I thought it was it for me. I thought one more fight. I said to Dad, I'm going to fight one more fight. And
how did he feel, though? Was he feeling the same way?
I'll be honest with you. In hindsight, I think me retiring was harder on Dad than it was for me. I think because I never really took into it how my retirement would impact my dad at the time. It was all about me, but that journey was with my father. So we were a team. So everything, I never thought that he'd miss as much as he did. And he did, man, you know what I mean? But I never really took that in. But there's a fine line between going on too far and retiring undefeated, which is very rare, as you know. So, you know what I mean? It's something that I really valued, that I've been champion for these years. I've fought the best, You got to listen to yourself. I have my faith in God, and I always prayed, and then you got the devil and the God. You think, you bet you can make this much now. You got this fame, you got this. And I thought, you know what? I'm quite humble, man. I stay in this place. I lived here most of all my life, as you see this area. And I just thought, to me, there's one fight missing. And Roy Jones came up to me. I spoke to Roy Jones after the fight with Hopkins, and we just spoke. When Roy.
So Roy approached you?
Yeah,
about the fight?
We started chatting.
Were you even thinking possibly Roy?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I was thinking one more fight, and then I just try to think back now. Roy's, defense at the time in light heavyweights. I'm not sure who was around at the time. There was no really big names. Hopkins was the biggest #1, and then Roy at the time was still a good fighter. And so we spoke about it, and Madison Square Garden, and why not? You fight in Vegas and you fight Madison Square Garden, Mecca boxing, man.
Two Meccas.
Yeah,
to go out.
Exactly, and I was enjoying it, and obviously, you know, I spoke to Dad, said this was it. Whether Dad believed me or not, I'm not sure, because a lot of people say they retire, but did they stay retired? That's the difference. A lot of fighters do retire, but they don't stay retired. So, to me, when I trained for that fight, I was in great shape. You know, like I said, with the cutting corners thing, is like I started losing the hunger a bit. You know, I was on listening. You see, the fitness, I was always there, but my dad always said something to me as a kid, and it always stuck with me. He said, always train like a challenger. You know? That's what fighters get to be, is when you cut corners, but always train like a challenger. To me, it was, I knew that was it. I'd done everything I wanted to do. Okay, I'm gonna fight for fame, I'm gonna fight for money, but that's not who I am. To me, at the time, if I'm fighting Roy Jones and Madison Square Garden, that ticked all the boxes for me. And I can be great, yeah, because you can make more money, of course. I was 46-0, and people said, why didn't you try to get 50-0? That's just my number, because I was, you know, Rocky Marciano. I remember speaking to Manny Stewart, and he said, I remember chatting with him before the fight with HBO press room before the fight with Hopkins. I mean, with Roy Jones, he went, I said, man, I think this is going to be my last fight. He went, this is going to be the last fight? I said, yeah, I'm not going to get 50 or 50 and 0. He said, how many world title fights you had? I said, this will be my 21 and 22. Rocky Marciano only had like 6, 7 world title fights. Just a number, you know? He said, if you retire now, man, he says, people won't appreciate you now, but in years to come, it's going to be harder to do what you did, especially fighting from Wales in UK. And I find that happening as you go along. You know, it's not that hard, as you know, to be a world champion, fight the highest level and fight the best you can fight. Regardless of the number, you know, to retire and also stay retired is a big deal, you know, and not get
It's a handful of people you could probably count on one hand. Maybe 6 or 7 if you really think about it that actually did that in the history of the sport.
2 in this gym, brother.
Come on, bro.
Blessed, man.
So when you went into that fight, first round knockdown again. What is it with this first round knockdown, Joe?
No, man, these slippery boots I was wearing.
Man, come on, man. I said, man, it happened again.
Yes, man. And is that somebody telling you something, you know? But that was a forearm, right? And this is what I was going to say earlier on. It's like, been knocked 4 times in my entire life. And then in my last 2 fights, I go down in the first round. If that's not awake, is that something, you know, is somebody telling you something? You know, is the Lord telling you something? And that one hurt though, because I got hit with the forearm, and I went down, I got up, I recovered quick, because a good chin and recovery. It's not about going down, it's how you recover as well, right? And from the second round onwards, I enjoyed the fight, but I knew before, I remember going to Madison Square Garden in the day, I was looking around, I had an emotional experience, man, where I was looking around thinking, wow, Dad, man, like, where we've come from. We're in Madison Square Garden, you know, we're in this place, you know, and potentially this could be the last fight. And except for the first round, I enjoyed myself. And you know what? And it's like I dropped my hands. I didn't intend on doing that. People say, why are you doing this? And all these, I don't even know. But I think it was me expressing myself, me just enjoying myself. And I remember in the fight saying, Joe, thank God, man, like, last 3 rounds, last 2 rounds. I was saying in my head, this is the last round. Just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, I was saying to myself, and this is it. And then it was like, wow. And I just remember looking up and like, thank God. And just saying, wow, man, it was a tingle, sort of surreal moment for me. And that was it. And even though I didn't announce it after the fight, I announced it a few months later.
6 months later.
Yeah, 6 months.
Why did it take 6 months for you to make that
I
decision?
had like a manager and this and that, and he was telling me not to announce it.
But you knew already, though.
I knew that was it. After that fight, that was it for me. I knew that was it, and no matter what was going to happen, I was just content, you know, on that fight. And then after that, you know, people saying, Joe, you know, get a lot of money. Joe, a couple more fights, you give an easy fight there. There's no such thing as an easy fight. You got to me, that was. I'm thankful. I'm blessed, not just to do what I did, but also having the man that sort of enabled me to do it, my father in the corner. So to me, that was it. It's like, you can't put a price, to me, you can't put a price on that, you know what I mean? To finish off the way I did, and yeah, very thankful.
It took 6 months to announce your retirement. Like, what's the relationship with you and Pops now about the retirement? Like, is he's accepting it, or he seems to be struggling with it before you announced it?
Yeah, he's like, you know, I think he was quite sad. You know what I mean? I think I obviously accept it, and he's, you know, he wanted me to do what I have to do, and he knew, you know, he could see that I wanted out, and we had this conversation off and on, like, this is it for me now. And whether he believed me is another story, but obviously I announced my retirement. At the time, we still had an active boxing gym, you know, we still had fighters in the gym, so I know that, but it was different when I retired, you know, the atmosphere was different. It was just like a completely different, I think my dad sort of losing love for it as well. I think because we didn't have, I wasn't in the gym, you know, we had that father-son bond, you know what I mean, that went on, and yeah, all things come to an end, and yeah, that was it.
How did you feel when you finally announced it and it was public?
It's a difficult one because even when I announced it, in my heart, I'd already retired, you know? Because I knew when I fought against Jones in Madison Square Garden, I knew that was it. Just announcing it, okay, then he telling everybody he retired. Yeah. So it's hard to say really. What I remember that on the fight with Roy Jones is when I retired. So even when I said about, like, I didn't suddenly think, oh, I'm going to announce my retirement. That was just the public now, but people close to me, my father, people, my friends, my family knew that was it for me, you know?
It's interesting you say that about your dad because, you know, I have a little bit of guilt for my coach, Virgil. You know, he's my godfather. And, you know, when I retired, I told him right before I did it. I didn't want him to try to talk me out of it, and I didn't want anything to go public, so I literally told him the night before.
Yeah.
You know, I look back since the retirement, and the gym is different. I was his main guy, you know, and I know he's a tough man, so he won't show it, but I feel a little bit guilty about that too, you know, because things changed for him when I retired too. It's just not the same. So I can relate to what you're saying, man, but it's tough because we also have to look out for ourselves. You know, we could have won another 2, 3, 4, 5, who knows what would have happened. Yeah. And now maybe you have a quality of life now that could have been much better, but now maybe you're dealing with some issues and stuff because you stuck around for the wrong reasons. So it's a tough call, man. It's a very, very tough call. I say this a lot, that I wish retirement on everybody, but I wish retirement on nobody.
Yeah.
Because it is like, I want you to be able to go on your own terms, but it's hard, man. It's not as easy as people think it is.
No.
As a fighter.
No, of course not. It's what I've done, you know, from the age of 8. That's where I felt I was, and it's, to me, when I retired like 37, even though I won all the titles and retired on my own terms, like boxing retired me, it was still tough, you know, for me. You know, I missed that, you know, euphoria, that buzz, that adrenaline, get up in the morning, that relationship with my dad, you know, winning, you know, and feeling that self-worth, you know, and I probably lost my identity for a bit because I'm the fighter, you know, what do you do next, you know? And I used to do a bit of commentary, even try a bit of acting, and that didn't work out too good for me, man. And you just get lost and you get just dragged into different things in life, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's, nobody prepares you for what happens in sport, especially with boxing. I don't think we get much help.
We get no help.
We like, after boxing, what do you do next? You know, like, do something else you love.
What?
I've just, exactly, like, okay, I'll try this, I'll try that, but I've dedicated my whole life to this sport, and then, you know, it can be a struggle, and it was for a little bit, you know?
How have you made the adjustment? Like, one thing I respected about you, even more than your boxing skill, was that drive you had. You not only had a motor, like cardiovascular wise, but like you had a drive. Like, I'm not afraid. I'm gonna keep coming. Like, I respect that because I'm very similar. But that drive doesn't turn off necessarily when you retire. So how have you stayed retired, and how have you changed the mission from boxing to maybe something else?
Yeah, it was, you know, it was a tough transition. I went to live in London after I retired. I'd done a few TV things, and, you know, I got probably dragged into the sort of other side of things in boxing. I mean, outside of boxing. And, yeah, it was tough, man. You know, probably partying a bit too much, and got a bit lost for a little while, you know. It was tough, you know. Over the years, man, like, to me, it was easy to stay retired. I mean, like, my hands, for instance, are bad. You know, I got bad hands. My body is breaking down, you know. I struggle with a bit of arthritis now. My hands, even if I hit the bag, You know, they ache, and if it's cold, I'm like, oh, my knees, my back. You know, it's 27 years smashing their body. You know, it's hard from a young age and training. Yeah, you pay for it later on. I'm thankful, but you know, it hurts. So, you know, people say, but coming back, I'm 53, like, I'm 53 in a couple of weeks, and it's like, you know, there's other things. You realize after a while, there are other things in life, and what matters to me, my legacy now, to be a good dad, be a good father, you know. I got a 30-year-old Joe Jr., little Connors in Australia, you know, beautiful boys. And I have another 2-year-old little Enzo, which is amazing, and I'm also a granddad. For the first time, which is amazing. So yeah, it's life is great, man. You know, life is great now. You know, it's a whirlwind after retired. You know, adapting can take a while, but you know, I'm just thank God for everything I've achieved, everything I've done, being able to have. Although my dad's not with me, I know he's still in here, and I know he's still looking down at my mum, and you know, being able to have that journey with him in the corner was amazing. And yeah, I'm just a more chilled out guy now. You know, it's. Sobriety in my life, which is nearly a couple of years now, so that's
Staying strong on that?
Yeah, massively, man. Yeah. Which is been off and on, man. It's been a struggle at times, you know, and yeah, that's a massive thing to me, you know, and being able to be present and being able to enjoy my family, you know, enjoy life, and yeah.
Man, brother, more life to you, man. I appreciate you sharing that, and you know, we got to have more conversations like this as athletes, as fighters, because people are struggling, man. They just don't talk about it.
I know.
So to be able to talk to somebody or sit across from somebody who really understands, man, it's a cool conversation, man. I appreciate you sharing.
Thank you very much, brother.
Man, bro, thank you, man. This has been big for me. Oh, yo, I gotta get into this. One last question.
Go on.
One last question. Joe Calzaghe, Andre Ward, in our primes. So you feel like you beat me. I feel like I beat you. But walk me through a fight. Why do you feel like your style would have gave me problems? Talk to me.
Okay.
Talk to me. Give me the truth, man. I'm here.
I'm a southpaw. I'm awkward. I got a good chin. I'm just awkward fucking fight, man. I'm just I give everybody a nightmare, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have appreciated all the work rate.
Yeah,
it's hard. It's hard to deal with, man. Because it's hard to deal with that.
I tell you what, bro. Let's just say it'd be a draw. We both win, yeah.
Hey, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Hey, man. That's a wrap. Joe Calzaghe. We out of here, man. We took it international. We'll see you guys next time.
So you guys do that, big.